How did that first year treat you? You said you had the 6 months, and I guess for orientation, your wife was still working
Yep,
at the
still was
time.
working.
Okay. How did that work out? Because the first time I did, I didn't do it the right way. I just kind of came home and told my wife, I'm an entrepreneur. I put in my 2 weeks.
Yeah, yeah. No,
That was years ago, but
we had a good rapport and understanding to where she knew that if I brought it to her, that if I say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. I want your blessing before I do it. But it's like a reciprocal respect where she knew that I was asking, but I needed to do it.
yeah,
So she hey, listen, this is what you gotta do. Just this is what I need,
yeah,
And I was like, all right, cool. And so that was the conversation, and and that's been like our dynamic for like major big stuff because she knows that I don't do things lightly, and she understands who I am.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it worked out, and I'm appreciative of her allowing me to be me.
Welcome to the Dear Son Show. We have conversations about fatherhood. It's for fathers, those with fathers, and the fatherless, so nobody's left out. These are the conversations I want my son to access as he grows through life, early teen, adulthood, and even my youngest son that's 7 at the time of this recording. So no topics are off limits. In order to have these conversations, it's better when I do it with a guest. And today we got a vet. Phillip Washington Jr., welcome back to the show. How are you, my brother?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me back.
Glad to have you back, man. We've had some conversations since our last on camera talk, so we got some things to unravel here, right? I think this was going to be a lot lighter. Hopefully, my voice is giving that away. We're going to talk about some business, man. I am in a transition state. For those that don't know, depending on where you came in where in the story you're coming into my journey via this podcast, I got fired. Executive fired, right? It's a 90-day process. It wasn't like I got my 2 weeks notice, but it's a transition nonetheless. And my intent is to take this media space seriously. Part of the media space is this podcast. There's some other things that we're working on in terms of short films and feature films and other content documentaries. But Phillip is going to give us some game today in this conversation because he's a fellow podcaster that is further along the curve than I when it comes to monetizing, right? Making this thing make money. We all pour our effort into it. And, this is starts off sometimes as a passion project or just a need to give information in hopes that others get it. But there's an opportunity for a business around it, right? So I kind of want to talk about that. But let's reintroduce to some, introduce to others, like who you are, your business and your podcast, how they intersect, and what the intent is.
So Phillip Washington Jr., host of the Wealth Building Made Simple podcast. I built the podcast to market my wealth management business that I started 6 years ago. The podcast has been an official podcast for maybe 3-4 years. And then the year or two before that was like Facebook living, the content that I was teaching. But it came about because I was like, hey, listen, the wealth managers who have built successful careers, they do a lot of speaking, and I want to do a lot of speaking. And so I was trying to get some speaking gigs, and I was getting them. And then my friend was like, hey, like, why don't you just go Facebook Live and then you can speak to a lot of people. And I was like, oh, that's so simple. I did a live, and the first one I did with her was like 5,000 people. She had a decent following.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was like, wait a minute. Like, I'm like, if that's a room of 5,000 people,
yeah, I
was like, this internet thing is like magic.
Yeah.
So that got me into like saying, okay, I'm going to go all in. And so created the Real Podcast, and then used that to, like, I didn't cold call to build my business. I have more clients than I want at the moment.
Right.
I'm selectively adding new clients, but I'm also, in the process of helping people find a better advisor if that's what they want. So I'm in the pruning phase, which is a good phase to be in, but it's through the podcast. I mean,
Yeah.
And I now have advertisers on the podcast and building other monetization, strategies for the podcast. Because for me, and we'll talk about it, there are infinite ways to make money podcasting, and we're like at the beginning. I mean, we're like before Def Jam
Right.
in hip hop.
That's a great, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because there's nothing regulated about it. We were talking about how it's akin to the music business before we started rolling, and it's just not regulated. So it's like the Wild Wild West, where all the grab opportunities really exist now, and I think there'll be opportunities indefinitely, but there's right now early in the space.
Early.
Early in the space. So I'm gonna be real inquisitive on this one because I'm stealing information, gleaning information, stealing's a aggressive term.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's not mine anyway. If I give it to you, I took it from somewhere.
It is. There it is. And you kind of package it and put it here for you, like the listeners and the watchers today. But I want to go back to that shift from corporate America to doing your own thing. We touched on it a little bit in the episode before, and I don't know if it's just now because I am T minus 30 days that hypersensitive and hyper focused on those nuances. But what was that shift like for you? How long did you struggle, if at all, with the decision before you made the leap?
Yeah, so for me it was gradual because on the last podcast I believe I mentioned like I never had a salary, so I was 100% commissioned salesperson, but it was still corporate in the sense where like, like I ran their playbook, you know what I mean? And so when you go into business for yourself, I got to create everything from scratch.
Right.
And that for me was, it's like everything else is a mixed emotions, right? It was like, I was way too naive is the wrong word, but like I understood what that meant, but until you actually do it, you're like, oh wait, like it's all on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, but I like that because part of the reason why I left was I wanted it all to be on me. I'm like some people say, oh, I miss being a kid where I didn't have any responsibilities. I don't. Like I literally don't miss being a kid.
Gotcha.
'Cause I like I like to create my own rules.
Yeah.
It's life. Life is what it is, but I don't want to be a kid again.
Yeah. 6 years ago, right? So 6 years ago, you started your company. Insert the name again.
Stonehill Wealth Management.
Stonehill Wealth Management. Day one, do you recall your first day in business? Like, you just referenced the.
And that first
it's
year,
on me, but until it's on you, you don't get it. Like, what was that first day, first week?
yeah, it's a blur because I first had to establish the investment advisory firm, which is like a 6-month process.
So you did that app. That was part of your day one forward, or you did that leading up to it?
Yeah, like that was just the hodgepodge transition period. That was just, I was still at one. I wasn't in corporate, but I was at one independent firm.
Gotcha.
That he wanted me to partner with him, and I decided not to. So while I was still there, I had the flexibility to transition, but I really wasn't really working here anymore. I really was transitioning everything, and I had to have this open to transfer my client. So it was just a 6-month, ball of stress. I wasn't meditating at that time.
Okay.
So it was a 6-month ball of stress because like I had no control over like, when my company was going to be established, and then how am I going to bring in client to the other company? Cause I need to, so it was just like, it wasn't one day. It's like a 6-month blur of, I couldn't tell you. Like, I just remember 6 months of being stressed out.
At any point, did you say F it? Let me go back.
Nah, only just because the muscles I had built over the years around being comfortable in uncertainty, it just let me know that, hey, like, just have faith.
Yeah.
Stay patient, be disciplined. It all works out, right? And I was like, I don't gotta worry about, how I'm gonna get there. I just gotta worry about like today, what do I gotta do? Like, what I got to do today? Like, I do remember that part. It was, what I got to do today? The next day, what do I got to do today?
What new skills did you have to develop in that process, right? Because again, like you said, you were attached to corporate, you were still commissioned, but there was a system, right? What skills did you have to develop where maybe now you have to do something that somebody else used to do, like an
Hmm.
assistant, or that there were these things that supported you being successful under their platform, under their system. But what was it like? I guess the question is, what was it like for you to develop your system? Were you consciously aware that, hey, I need to set this up, or was it learn as you go?
Learn as I go. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I have, I have developed a good mix of. I'm very disciplined,
Hmm.
but I'm very open to. Uh, I'm very comfortable in chaos because uh, I actually kind of I don't want to say like chaos, but I understand how to listen to, like, I know what's needed will be brought to me, you know what I'm saying, if I listen hard enough.
Gotcha.
So
You
if it,
trust it.
yeah, so it feels chaotic, but I'm like, okay, I don't got to worry about the how.
Yeah.
I just need to like be disciplined in executing what I know to be right, and then the next thing kind of just drops. And I'm saying that today in 2022,
Yeah.
but I'm just, and at the time I don't know if I was conscious of what I was doing, but that was like my process, right? My process was, in order to not stress out, I had to not stressed out. You know what I'm saying? I had to say, I can't control that.
Yeah.
I just need to, like, I just know things work out. I don't know how, but things have always worked out. Right. And then if it doesn't work out, then I just figure out what to do from that point.
Yeah.
But at this point, I just need to like do what I got in front of me. And that's literally like how I got through, it built that skill. And then it also, over time, I learned the skill of I got more confident and comfortable. And then, like, for me, I am consider myself maybe like a one trick pony.
Okay.
So I don't love doing things that I don't feel great at,
Yeah.
which means which I know I can be great at everything, but if I don't want to do it, then I just learned to just not do it, because
Yeah.
it's too much willpower to learn to be great. So I just
Mm.
so early on I learned, all right, for my business I don't like compliance. Oh, there's like a compliance service where they'll literally like just tell me what to do,
Right.
and then cool. Oh, this company does this for me. So I early on learned to like, I fell into technology because at the time when I was doing that, technology was allowing you to like outsource like everything, you know? And so I was like, oh, that was easy. So when I came out of it, I was like, oh, this is way easier than what I thought. Cause all the things I thought I had to worry about, I don't got to worry about. There's a service for that,
Yeah.
you know? Now there's coming up with the money, but you know, deal with that problem when it needs to come up.
What about the control aspect? Because that you're hitting on a very it's not even touchy topic for me. It's something I'm well aware of. And I got to a space in corporate where I would allow people to take on responsibilities that I was hoarding, right? I would delegate, right? And I had this thing where if my name was attached, I felt some kind of way, but it was hindering people from growing because I wasn't giving them the full opportunity to make a mistake, right?
Hmm.
And understand what that and feel what that's like, right? When you're responsible for the process not working, because you didn't understand what you were supposed to contribute to the process, or some other thing, but that was a that was a misstep or a failure of some sort, and I think that's a great place to learn, and that's how I learned, right?
Hmm.
So I was not affording people that opportunity, and I thought I was protecting them, but it was again, it wasn't serving them. So as I allowed them to think through things completely without inserting my opinion,
Hmm.
or what the rule says or what the guidelines say, they became better. They became better people, right? And I've had those conversations with them, and it's not me patting myself on the back, but it's you got to allow people to feel the impact of their effort, right?
Hmm.
Whether it's positive or negative, you got to allow them to feel that so they can understand how to adjust in the future. All the way around the block to ask you, did you struggle with releasing control of those things? You mentioned once you found them, it was like, no brainer, let it go. But was part of the delay in finding that because you just like controlling the process? That's
Yeah,
my problem.
yeah. I kind of sense where you were going, and the answer is no, right? Because my first year in the business, I hired an assistant.
Okay.
You know, in the corporate, right? Because it's 100% commission, so we had to hire our own, pay my own office rent, hire my own staff. And you know, I'm like 22 years old, so I really don't know anything. And I'm trying to think where this mindset came, because you know, my personality, I am very confident, and I think sometimes it for unconfident people it comes off as arrogance. But if you really know me, I'm just extremely self-aware,
Right.
right? Meaning I know what I'm not good at. And if I'm not good at it, I'm like, hey, if you're good at it, like you tell me what to do to stay out of your way. So when my assistant came in at 22, I'm like, you know, she was, uh, well, I had multiple assistants, but two of them were good. Both of them were older than me.
Mm.
Both of them were ladies gifted with the gift of organization, and I was not,
Right.
right? Uh, uh, and so I was like, hey, like, this is what I need you to do. I don't know how to train you. You tell me what you need, and then once I can give that, I give you whatever you need, and then once you know what you need to do, like, just tell me, get out the way. And that was our relationship. Because I don't do well if I have to micromanage. Like the times when I have had to micromanage, I'm terrible at it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
Yeah.
And so like,
And I don't want to know.
right. Yeah. And so, you know, it was, because I had learned what I was not good at. Like I learned in that corporate deal, like that I'm terrible at micromanaging. And it's funny you say that. I didn't know at the time. I thought it was a deficiency. You know, I thought being terrible at micromanaging was like something's wrong with me. And then I grew up older and I was like, oh yeah, people don't want to be micromanaged.
Right.
Like that's the reverse of what you should do anyway. So I actually was accidentally doing it right.
Gotcha.
But it was out of like, just like literally like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I have that conversation with my direct reports. Even skip level is if both of us need to be focused on your job, one of us doesn't need to be here. Right. Now that doesn't mean you don't get training, you don't get mentoring. And I'm not saying I'm not a leader, but I expect you to understand your job, and what you don't know, I expect you to take a crack at it, right? Because I come from federal acquisitions, right? So it's a 2,000-page book of here's how you can. It's like understanding tax code, right? Right. You can be frustrated because you don't know and mad at people that do know, right? And then they're taking advantage of it. No, they just know it, right? So I chose early. I had a manager that challenged me very early to know why I'm doing what I'm doing. My work wasn't wrong, but she called me in and said, "Hey, why is this right?" I was like, what do you mean? Is this the way I saw the other person do it? She said, "Don't you ever come in here and give me that as an explanation that you did it because somebody else did it that way." And that stuck with me, and that's how I've managed since, right? You need to be able to point to where you looked at something, researched something, and then let's have a discussion about how you understood it, right? Don't come in here and ask me what is 2 plus 2. Well, what did you do? Did you use your fingers? Did you use sticks? I mean, did you watch something? Or like, I'm real big on that. So I'm not into micromanaging either.
And you know something that's important, because it brought out something that you just mentioned you learned, and I think you should pat yourself on the back of it, because I didn't learn it until recently, was, you know, like Kobe Bryant grew into being a person that probably would have been a really good coach. But early on, Kobe Bryant, like I identified with that Kobe Bryant, because I would have been at that stage, I would have been a terrible coach, because I didn't understand how to believe in somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we could say, I believe in you, but I didn't but if you didn't get it, like if you were not in there shooting baskets early or whatever, I'm talking in the work context.
Yeah.
But if you were like, I was like, I don't know what to tell you. like if you don't want to do it, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Like
Yeah.
it was a point of frustration, and over time I learned, oh, I gotta marry. When you're like me and you, where we are, and I say everybody is equal. I do believe everybody is equal, but when you have a bit more wisdom in an area than somebody
Yeah.
else, I had to learn to marry that with love and patience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even mentally, right? Because me, I would be like, yeah, I'm being patient, but like my insides are not being patient.
I'm saying if I say it enough, people will believe it.
Yeah. I'm acting patient, but you're not feeling patient.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I had to learn that.
My challenge and this my challenge and my frustration in corporate when it came to people and leading people is I found that I wanted more from them. I wanted more for them than they wanted
Facts.
because I did it. So I wanted you to study like me. I wanted you to have the notes on the side of your computer screen so that you'll understand all of the things that are critical in this space. You'll know it by memory, or you'll know how to research it. And some people don't want that, and that would frustrate me. And I would pour a lot of time into the wrong people in the sense that it didn't align with what they wanted. Not that they were bad people, but if you're pushing somebody to be a manager and they just want to be an independent contributor and that's where they live and that's their piece, it doesn't work, right? Even if you want, even if it's for a good reason. But yeah, I'm again as I'm coming to the end of this run in corporate, hopefully the last run in corporate, I'm starting to take inventory of some of those things and like, you know what corporate's really good for? How you want to run your business or how you don't want to run your business. Equally valuable.
Yeah,
Right.
facts.
If you can be aware of where to place the information and what bucket and how to apply it. I'm very aware of that. So I'm excited about it being all on me. It's just that it's the nervous energy. It's not I was trying to explain it to Brandon actually yesterday. Like I can't explain how it feels. I know I feel, but I'm not scared. But it's this is no longer my identity. That's what it is. Like I realized again, taking inventory, a lot of conversations that I be in, I felt it necessary to insert my title. But in the next breath, I would articulate that that's not a flex, and I wasn't just saying it to say it, but I thought it was a reference that people would understand and maybe listen to me differently, or maybe value what I'm saying differently. But that's the piece now. So now it's now the focus is adding value, right? Wherever I'm operating in, and organizing the order of operation because there's so many things I want to do. I don't want to have a bunch of things in parallel. In 3 years from now, I'm telling this story after I get off work. You know what I'm saying? Like, but
Right.
nah, these things are still going. I just got to clock out first. But I don't know. It's a weird space, man. How did that first year treat you? You said you had the 6 months, and I guess for orientation, your wife was still working
Yep,
at the
still
time.
was working.
Okay. How did that work out? Because I the first time I didn't do it the right way. I just kind of came home and told my wife, I'm an entrepreneur. I put in my 2 weeks.
Yeah. No,
That was years ago, but
we had a good rapport and understanding to where she knew that if I brought it to her, that if I say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. I want your blessing before I do it. But it's like a reciprocal respect where she knew that I was asking, but I needed to do it.
yeah.
So she said, hey, listen, that's what you got to do. Just this is what I need,
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, cool. And so that was the conversation, and that's been like our dynamic for like major big stuff because she knows that I don't do things lightly, and she's she understands who I am.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it worked out, and I'm appreciative of her allowing me to be me.
Such a big thing. Such a big thing. If you can't be who you are in any relationship, that I don't know what that's like. It's tough, I imagine. but especially in marriage, I mean, that'd be something to work through. All right, so I think we laid the foundation for how we got to this conversation and a bit about your background. But let's push into what is going to help people in a different way, right? In terms of how you're using podcasting and some of those aha moments that you had along the way. You're an aggressive podcaster. You podcast daily?
Daily. Yep. I think we're over. I'm over 700 episodes now. We do. There's been periods. So I started daily, then went through a period of weekly, and then last maybe year and a half, I've been back daily.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's daily, Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
Weekends, take those off.
What does it look like? Let's help people. Do you batch content or do you record often?
So I batch. So I record for my Friday segment every Friday.
Okay.
But then I batch the Monday through Thursday one because those are, three of them are sponsors who have businesses. And so they're doing what I'm doing for my business for their business. So it's a realtor, CPA, insurance agent. And so we batch record those beginning or end of the month.
Are they part of it, or do you just highlight them?
No. So I'm interviewing them.
Okay.
So I'll say, hey, because I know them. They all watch what I do, and I had a conversation with them about, hey, you should do this for your own podcast, and after spending multiple times telling them, I say, listen, just pay my team. We'll produce it. I'll ask you the questions. All you got to do is show up and record. And then they were like, cool.
Yeah.
And so they show up. We go through the 4 episodes that they do for the month.
Mm-hmm.
They leave. We record everything. We post everything, put them in a folder, send them to them. I encourage them to take clips and put it on social media. Yeah. If they want us to do it, they got to pay us more. But that's how it works. So it's batched for them, mm-hmm. and then I batched the Wednesday segment because I took that over from a sponsor who dropped off.
Okay.
But then Fridays, I'm there every Friday because I record for my podcast Friday, and I sponsor About Mansfield podcast, and so I record there because Mansfield's a big target for me.
Gotcha. So do you do they see the value? Because you knew them before they became sponsors. So you had a pre-existing relationship. I was going to ask you about how did you find them, but do they get it?
They do.
And from their perspective, what value are they seeing in the process?
Yep. So here's and this gets into selling advertisers. So what I learned as an investment advisor is you have to embody the principles that you sell. So a lot of advisors will work on language and how do I perfectly say this and blah, 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 blah. And language is important.
Yeah.
Right. It's cool. But I sell a lot of stuff with a Houston accent.
Gotcha.
And I'm not the most grammatically correct person on the planet. But I've always been enthusiastic about what I've talked about. Yeah. If I'm talking about it, I'm enthusiastic about it. I believe it. If I don't believe it, I'm not talking about it. I don't talk to express myself. I talk with a purpose.
And
so
talk to express myself.
Yeah. I talk with a purpose, right? And so, when I was talking to them for advertising, because the advertising for them was on accident. It was literally, you're my friend. I know this is gonna win, right?
Yeah.
I don't care about the money. I want this to win, but you won't do it. Okay, my team will do it for you. I asked them. You just pay this. You know what I'm saying? You just pay this amount of money.
Yeah.
And then it'll pay us for our time for doing it. They're like four of them said yes in a row, and I was like, damn, I ain't charge them enough. I
was gonna get there.
Yeah. But the point was I believed it. But I told him when I talked to him, I said, let me go back to what I learned in investing. I learned in investing was people, my clients, they didn't I would explain to them how markets worked. We would build their financial plan. I would talk to them about the investments. And in that moment, they would understand they would follow what I was saying, but they didn't fully understand it, right? But they said, all right. It felt like Phillip knew what he was talking about.
Yeah.
He understands my goals, and so I believe in him. But what I would always say is, I would say, but listen, like if you're not gonna like invest for at least 5 years, 10 years with me,
Yeah.
then don't give me your money because I don't want to talk every single year about what the market did this year.
Yeah.
I can't control that.
Yeah.
Like it's random. You know what I mean? I say, but if we diversify for 5 years, then like returns over time follow profits, and the trajectory of human innovation is up.
Right.
And I was like, so the longer your time, I say, and I'm not, in investing, like we were diversifying. So I was like, the only way you don't make money over the long term is if everything goes to zero, right? When you have a diversified portfolio. So it was, so I wanted long-term investors. Could I have made a lot of money and sold a lot of short-term investors what they wanted to hear? Because I know what they want to hear. Mm-hmm. And I could have made a lot of commission money doing that. But I just was like, I'm not doing that because I want long-term investors because I don't have to find new investors.
Yeah.
Once I don't meet their expectations. So from an advertising standpoint, I transferred that to my friends and I say, listen, like the trust was already there, the belief was already there. But then I was like, listen, but if you're gonna give me this money and you're not gonna do it for 12, 18 months, don't give me the money.
Yeah.
I don't even need it.
Right.
I'm doing this for you. I said, but you gotta give it. I say, when I did this, I didn't get not one result for 8 months. Right. I don't remember if it was 8 months or 9 months or 10 months, but I know it was a long time where I was doing it. And so they all came on with that. And the only reason why the fourth one that came in, he's just a short-term guy in general anyway. Gotcha. He's a friend who I was trying to help, but he wasn't really listening. He just was like, whatever, but the three are still with me because like they understood the long-term, nature of what I was saying.
Yeah. You made a reference to, price point, maybe somewhat in jest, maybe not. How were you confident about your offering, or was there still some like market testing, even though you had a relationship with them? How did you get to your price point? I'm not asking your price point, but that's a struggle for some, because we always want to say, well, my time is valuable, my time is this, I bring this value, but when you actually write it down or type out that proposal, that quote, sometimes you start second guessing, like this will be my initial price. Yeah. And I'll escalate it. And there's some value to that. There's some logic to that. But like how'd you set your price?
Yeah, man, I didn't think about it. I was like, they'll pay this. Like if they don't pay this, they ain't serious.
Yeah.
And so I just charged that amount. And like I said, and I didn't think about it until like after all of them said, yeah, I was like, hey, I didn't price enough. So 6 months later, I went back and I repriced it. I wasn't going to reprice them, and I gave them 3 months. I'm going to reprice this in 3 months. But, and I'm still not pricing them, right? Because when I'm charging them, if they go out and just have somebody produce the content, mm-hmm. it's going to cost more of the same.
Yeah.
So I'm
A lot of people want the product. They want the look that you provide. They want the quality that you provide until it comes to that price, right? And the revelation I had recently is that that's not a reflection on necessarily me having not the right price. That's a reflection on how much they believe in what they're doing. Because I am going to provide the quality that highlights what you're doing. I can't make you believe that if you also do the work and you also believe in what you're doing, that it's going to work, right? Yeah. So whether I produce, like if it's a commercial, right? Produce a commercial and somebody has a budget of 3,000 and somebody has a budget of 300. If the work is the same, the potential outcome is the same, right? But do I just pay, charge 300 because that's what that person had, right? It's tricky, and for me, it's becoming, like I said, I'm more hypersensitive to it because now the opportunities mean more, right? Mm-hmm. So it's the closing the deal means more, and the 3,300 reference wasn't that. So
yeah.
Good, fast, cheap. We're not cheap. But yeah, well, I mean, what do you?
But on that note, so now that it's like a real business, because again, at that point it wasn't a real business. It was, but now it's like, all right. I understand what it is, next advertiser, is gonna pay. I'm now going for, all right. Who are the? I just need. I'm picking a number, right? I just need 5, 10 advertisers that are gonna pay like a big amount of money, and if you're not that person, if you're not that advertiser that's long term, I'm just not interested.
Yeah.
Because my work through is if I'm sitting down talking to somebody who has a business, I'm like, hey, Mr. Business Owner, how are you growing your business? I do blah 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 blah. Okay, let me walk you through like the future of like what's happening in the world today, right? Let's rewind 20 years ago. You had the internet, which introduced websites. And what did business owners say at that time? I'm not going to need a website for my business. I've been advertising in the yellow pages for years. I'm not going to need this. Okay. Everybody got a website.
Yeah.
Then social media came out. Or no, Google, right? Google profiles. I'm not going to need that. Every business has a Google profile. All right. Social media came out. I'm not going to need a social media page. Social media. All the while, the folks that just like didn't resist and embraced the websites built massive businesses. Amazon literally built this business off Google ads, right? Facebook, right? Look at all the influencers that are building. I mean, massive.
Yeah.
The Logan Paul brothers who literally like are competing with big time boxing promotions, right? By embracing social media early, right? So now I'm like, okay, now we're at podcasting. Okay, you missed those three, right? Or you were late. Podcasting, you're really early, right? So let's play it out, Mr. Prospect. Do you think podcasting is going to work? It's definitely going to work.
Yeah.
Okay, now how do you build your real estate on this now? Like this is what we're talking about. It is going to work. So let's talk about business.
Yeah.
I say if you execute early in something that's going to get massive with somebody who is already executing properly and knows how to do it, right? What do you think it does to your business in the next 5 years?
Yeah.
It does well. I say, but here's the thing about podcasting that's different than probably everything you've done. Podcasting is branding.
Yeah.
Adidas has never sold me a tennis shoe. A salesperson has never sold me a tennis shoe. The brand did.
Yeah.
I was like, so if you engage in the podcast, you need to have a 5-year time commitment. 5 years? Yeah. But we're building like once it goes online, it stays online.
Right.
Right. You're building brand and it pays off more every year.
It's like the time value of money, right? You get the benefit of both. Do it now, then later as the channel, as the influence, as the brand of the podcast itself grows, you still get the benefit of being under that brand when you got in 3 years ago. And people go back and they'll listen. If once they're interested, they'll go back and listen to the early episodes. And I've heard so many stories about the thing that took off was never expected to be the thing that took off. The episode, that piece of content, but it was because something happened 3 years after that pointed them back to that thing. And then that thing will continue to pay. So that I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to ask, like, have you come across that pushback? And not necessarily pushback, but do businesses get it? Because even with all the references to missing the changing of the guard in technology or communication, or how information is disseminated from radio to TV to internet to now social media, some people still think that the thing now is the last thing. Like there's no thing after this.
Yeah, and here's where being in an investment business helped me. Like the unfortunate fact is just most people are never going to have any money. And so I spent 14, 15 years telling people, if you want to have money in the future, you got to save and invest. And people will say, yeah, I want to have money, but I can't do it yet. Tomorrow. And then you learn to just say, cool, I only need X amount of clients to do what I need to do, right? Not that I don't care about you, but like you mentioned about in the corporate world, you can't make people go beyond their limits. Yeah. So I'm here. I presented it. If you don't want it, cool. Next, right? And so the in the podcast world, we're so early. Like the gift, the gift is we're so early.
Yeah.
The curse is we're so early.
We're so early.
Yeah, but the cool thing is, you and I are building a podcast. We go out and we go find 10 loyal brands
Yeah.
that can spend $20, $30, $40,000 a year with us,
Yeah.
which is easy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's an employee, right? So you say, hey, Mr. Business Owner, where are you going to find a employee that you could pay 50 grand a year to?
Right.
That's going to build you a media company that's going to bring in business, right? That's what we're doing. Like, we're building you a podcast. It's your employee, right? That's going to bring, that'll be the best salesperson you ever, for 50 grand.
Yeah.
Where are you going to find a good salesperson for 50 grand?
The cool thing about podcasting is that most of the people that listen to it are looking for it.
Right.
So it's not happenstance. It's not a billboard driving by. It's not something that was served to you that you didn't intend to consume. People are literally on here looking for their thing, and then they attach to it. Mm-hmm. Like I remember very clearly, 2018, we moved back to the U.S. and I was taking a lot of work trips, right? And I got tired of listening to music, right? And it's hard to watch YouTube while you're driving. Don't recommend it. But I stumbled onto podcasts, and I was like, what is this? So on my travel, that's all I would do. Mm-hmm. Then it bled into, if I'm working out, if I'm doing anything, I'm more likely listening to a podcast or watching a podcast versus consuming any other thing.
Facts.
So there's the loyalty aspect. I wish I had the stats up. I looked at them before, and maybe I'll insert them some way, but in terms of what the consumer base looks like and where they project this going based on how it's performed, very early, tons of opportunity. And I don't know about you, but I don't need all the money. Just carve me out a cool 200 M's.
Yeah.
And really not funny, but
and that's what I said. And I'm talking in 2022. I said, no brainer to find 10 brands that are going to give you 50 grand a year to build them a podcast. It's $500,000 a year. Respectable amount of money.
Yeah.
But you fast forward that 5 years from now and you've delivered results over the 5-year vision for that brand.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, our business grew and we're going to give you 50% of our advertising budget, which is a couple $100,000 a year. And it's the same 10 people.
Yeah.
And then you got everybody else who saw you do it for them. And they're like, can I get in?
Yeah.
Can I get in? I don't know. My minimum spend is 250 grand a year.
Yeah.
Is that what, like, are you know?
And I know these numbers are going over some people's heads. Salute to those people that these numbers are just rolling off like nothing. Because in big bit, and that's what I appreciate about corporate. Even though I didn't work for the largest company, like at one time my responsibility was to manage $1 billion of spend, right, of government money, right, money that was reimbursed by the government. So while that's not a flex, once you've dealt with those numbers, other numbers aren't so astronomical.
Facts.
Right? Like you can't understand what you haven't been around.
I mean, and I'm saying you take a business doing $1 million a year of revenue, which is nothing, right? It's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then and you say for 50 grand a year, I want to produce a podcast. They're like, of course, like if you've walked them through and got them to believe in podcasting, and they understand it's a 5-year deal, that's nothing.
Yeah.
Like they blow 50 grand on stupid stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So and that's just a business doing $1 million a year of revenue. And there's infinite amount of those like within 10 miles of this studio.
Yeah. And even I know of a specific podcast that I was part of their mentorship program. One of my favorite podcasts before that, but Social Proof Podcast. I won't get into the numbers that they actually do, but people seek them out to be on the show and pay. People, not large corporations.
People.
It's a 7-figure podcast from people wanting to be on their show to reach their audience, right? And salute to their audience, but there are audiences that are bigger. They found their niche and they worked it and they delivered.
Oh man, you hit on. Go ahead, finish.
No, that was.
No, you hit on the point, man. Because the other thing I talk about is like numbers don't matter.
It don't.
So because and you know I'm plugging the course we're doing, but I'm referencing it because it's important in the context of this conversation. that's the first point of the course that we're building. So I'm like, numbers don't matter because look, um, if you're clear on the profile of the person that you are looking that you want to listen to your podcast, right? It's gonna filter through the content you create, your messaging, and then if you say, I want my podcast to attract 40-year-old high income families, right?
You know my avatar.
Right? Yeah,
That's it. No, like
yeah, yeah.
That's counter.
Yeah, but I'm saying I'm saying that have these character traits that are good people.
Yeah.
I was like, if you have 1,000 loyal, you know what I'm saying, like listeners, and that's it. I mean, you can make millions of dollars a year on your podcast. Millions, right? Not I'm talking about from stuff that you sell plus okay, right? So if stuff that you sell you can make millions, they're also buying other things. So then you say, all right, these people buy books,
Yeah.
they buy t-shirts. Oh, they spend money at restaurants. Oh, they buy insurance. Oh, they buy houses. And there's 1,000 of them.
Yeah.
Right? Then you just go to them businesses and you go, hey, like, I have the attention of these
Yeah.
my 1,000 friends because they're friends. If they're listening to your stuff all the time, I'm sure you've seen this. Like I'll be out somewhere and somebody who watches my content and we've never met.
Yeah.
Like they say hi like they know me and I gotta pause.
Yeah.
I pause and I go, why don't I let they know? I'm like, oh, and you watch them realize, shit, I don't know him.
Yeah.
Like I just watch his stuff and it's cool. Like hey, how you going? But at first when it first was happening, I was like, I don't know this. Like, did I forget this person?
Yeah.
And then I started paying. I'm like, oh, okay. And we keep talking, and they watch my podcast, and they forgot that we'd never met.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they know because a part of the draw is allowing people to get to know you through your content. Right. You can have a specific focus, but hey, I'm a father with this focus. Hey, I'm a husband with this focus. They start to understand and identify with pieces of your life that you reveal. So we have a family of brands. Our apparel brand is starting to see that, right? Where it's like, hey, I got a picture in your stuff. I was like, somebody showed me your stuff. I got your stuff. And that's a very cool feeling. And one of the points, and I'm glad you said the numbers don't matter, is like there's a difference between popular and influence. There's a lot of popular people online and the people don't do nothing that they say to do, that they recommend to do. The other part of that is some people, some consumers, some people they confuse being associated with someone popular as being successful. If I can stand next to the popular person, people will see me as successful, right? So I don't want the million followers for the sake of having a million followers. I'm cool with, like you said, the 1,000, 2,000, and we move. We're impactful. We have dialogue. You can reach those people. You can kind of get to understand who they are in a very real way. So I'm not. It's not a numbers game for me in terms of followers, subscribers, or whatever the platform is. But it's about being impactful, and again, aggregating those people that find value in what I do and are interested long term.
Yeah, because that's one thing I learned. I learned in wealth management. My people would ask me, Phillip, why don't you work with athletes? And I was like, I would never turn an athlete down.
Right.
I said, but I don't actively market to athletes because there's so many rich unknown people.
Yeah.
There's infinite amount of mega rich unknown people that don't come with all the through the agents or like I don't gotta deal with all that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I just like the most wealthy people you never even you won't even know.
Who's cutting their check?
Facts.
Yeah, and then who owns the company that's cutting those checks? Yeah, it was. I don't know what it was. It was a piece of content where they were talking about, and the reference was Lil Baby, how many followers they had, and I'm butchering it, but the point that the person was making was, I'm not interested in getting Lil Baby's attention. I'm interested in getting this person's attention, and nobody knew who that was, but it was a person that owned the label that owned the label. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like that person probably has 500 followers.
Facts.
Right. So you can't confuse, again, the popularity with success. We're coming up on a good time, but I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to clearly highlight the course that at the time this is published it'll align in some way.
Yeah.
So Floor is yours.
Yeah, so is less of a course around how to set up a podcast technically, right? Because in the beginning I was like, hey, you got studios like yours where y'all will just do it for them.
Yep.
If you want to do it yourself, like it's not hard. Like go look at Podbean site. Like setting up the podcast technically is not difficult. You can figure out how to edit, but there's pretty good studios depending on your budget.
Right.
It's more around the playbook and the roadmap of how to think about monetization, and it's brick by brick. So it starts with like mindset,
Gotcha.
right? That needs to be clear first, or you won't attract any money, right? Like if your mind is not right, then you won't even see the opportunities in front of you. Like, and you're gonna
Believe it.
and you won't believe it, and you're gonna attract the wrong people, and then you're gonna focus on followers instead of like. So it's like mindset first, because I talk. If you take Warren Buffett's billions from him, like but you don't take his mind, he'll have it back in 10 years.
Yeah, recreate it.
Yep. So that's the first part. Second part is distribution or monetization. So it's, hey, these are the current ways to monetize, but the most important thing to remember is there are no rules. Like you said, like there's infinite ways to monetize, right? But here's some simple ones to look into to get started. And then I've walked them through like mapping out how quick those from a relatively small audience, you can build a few $100,000 million a year podcast without having 1 million downloads, right? Then it comes distribution, right? So how do you get the word out there for your podcast? And then last is like advertising, right? How to use cheap advertising to grow your podcast, and how to raise money on advertising, for your podcast, which we kind of talked a little bit about, and I'm happy to spend a little bit more time on it if you want. But and then I have a few ideas, but it's what I want to do is have it be so good that people are like sharing the heck out of it.
Yeah. You can go find all the information. I know you don't mind me saying.
No, I say it all the time.
Yeah, you can go find all the information, but again, it kind of boils down to how much information is worth to you, right? Is information worth? Is it a lesser importance, and if you get it next year, you're fine, or is it more valuable now, right? There's a time value to information as well. People that have it sooner do better, and then scale faster, and then they're on to the next thing by the time the average person catches on. So I don't push people into anything. I'm in the space, so I know how much time I spent trying to aggregate information to figure stuff out, see what sticks. I know what I paid for other programs, and for me, I don't fault any of it. Right? I made the clear decision to pay for it, and it was on me to get the value out of it that I thought the value was there. Now, if somebody scams you, that's different. But don't let a relatively low dollar amount prevent you from getting access to something that could accelerate you or unlock something mentally that propels you in whatever space you're already in. That's the other thing. I'm glad you said mindset earlier, because that's where all of it starts. Mm-hmm. Any guru, anybody that's worth anything is going to address, is going to challenge you to address how you think. Because if you can't think beyond where you are, all you're going to be is motivated while they're speaking. And we talked about that before we got started. So at this stage of life, I'm transformation over motivation. If motivation is cool for you, like, so, and what I mean by that is motivation is I need to listen to this so I can go to the gym every day, right? I want to be the person that goes to the gym every day because that's who I am, right? Because if I don't listen to the thing, now that thing has control over my outcome, right? And I got to keep going back. It's so temporary. It's like the high you chase. So that's my perspective. You can argue with your insecurities in the comments, but I'm at a stage now where I'm cool on motivation.
Yeah. No, I completely understand everything you just said. And this part too, you can put in the podcast, but I want to make sure I answered it because we talked about it before, or you can cut it out the podcast. But what I also think is it's a big opportunity for studios like yours, because, so I had a conversation with a, Black couple, They were in Miami, so we were doing a Zoom call. Both own businesses. One of them is into VC, and they're making some money now, and they wanted to invest. And I flat out told them, I don't think you should give me your money, right?
It's honorable.
Yeah, I say, here's my minimums, but based on what y'all are told me y'all are doing, and y'all are growing, and y'all are doing it, y'all have access to, all these angel investments and doing this, and the world is changing. Like, I would parlay your cash into all that, meaning like, if you're like in accumulation mode, and aggressive accumulation mode, and you're just like, and you're not like super liquid, or if you're super liquid and you got enough, traditional investments, I was like outside of Bitcoin, right? As our cash pile grows, I'm gonna invest in studios like yours because it's there's so much money out there, and the same pitch that we talked about, you do an advertiser. If you go talk to physicians, attorneys, people that just have all this cash and they got stock market investments, but it's like it's boring, right? Let's be real. It's boring, right? It's wealth preservation. You know what I mean? But if they want to like build wealth, there are a few opportunities smaller than podcasting. Yeah, because you say websites, Google, social media. This is where it's going. Here's our vision, right? Here's our demo, right? Our demo are 40-year-old high income households, college educated. That's our, whatever. That's our niche, right? These are the 3 core shows that we are using to execute those people, to execute that attention towards those people. Right? We're proficient in how to use social media, advertising, and all that to boost what we do. But the cool part is, as podcasting rises, even if we're terrible, like we're gonna win.
Right.
We're committed. Right.
Yeah.
The only thing that and not you, I'm just talking about the only thing that we lack at the moment is just money.
Yeah.
Like if we had money, right? Like one of these things are going to hit, or all of them are going to hit, and everybody's going to make plenty of money. Like that's the pitch for people with investments it's websites, Google ads, Facebook, podcaster here. Except you got money. You don't need to advertise your business.
Yeah.
You want to participate in the advertising revenue that we're going to generate from the business. And I'll share with you one of the Excel spreadsheets that I built for people with the course.
Gotcha.
To walk them through like how to organize that, that money.
Yep.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. So, Reference Studio, salute to Banger Boy Studios. I partner with Banger Boy Studios. This is where this episode and many others are being filmed. So that's the other piece. Slide aside. There's audio, and then there's also where it lives in the visual space, right? So it's whether you do it, you have it done for you, or you go to a place. Don't miss the fact that you're living in a few different on a few different channels, right? So there's audio. Some people are committed to listen to audio because, like they like it when they're driving, they like when they're in the gym. Some people are interested in the visual experience. Like if you're watching on YouTube now, my play is network, right? So we're creating a network on Roku. If you search the Dear Son Network, it'll download like it would for Stars or HBO Max or Netflix or any other thing. And why wouldn't I? Right? We have the capability. We have the creative focus and the creativity to put shows together that are meaningful to people. And my play is in a very specific space, but it's not a like a monolithic type of content, right? I care about men. I care about Black men. I care about the relationship between Black fathers and Black sons, right? And it comes from a very personal place. So I am aggregating all of this content that feeds that, and it looks different. Sometimes it looks like this. Sometimes it looks like it sounds like a podcast. Sometimes it's a sketch show or a movie. My point is there's infinite possibilities to do more with the podcast than what you may traditionally think, right? And now I've aggregated attention from several different niches, and I take that to market. Like I have this is the attention that we garner based on these things, right? And it may be more than what just a traditional podcast would bring to the table. So all that to say, if you're in Mansfield in or around and you're looking for a podcast studio, Bang Boy Studio is a great solution. If you want it done for you, or if you just want to utilize the equipment that's here, if you have some creative ideas that you want to document in a different way, full capacity and capability to do that. So I appreciate you mentioning that because I don't do enough. I don't market me enough. I'm terrible at it, but that's got to change. Enjoyed you again, my brother. Anything in closing?
No, man, that was it, man. I appreciate you having me again.
Cool. There you go. We appreciate you guys. God bless you. Peace. That was dope.
Yeah, man.